All right, welcome to the Boot Hill Sports Network and Cover 3 podcast. We're going to talk about all high school area teams here in the Boot Hill. I've got Jeremy Abrams, the voice of the Crowsville Tigers. How you doing, Jeremy?
Doing fantastic, Jeremy. Mark, and yourself?
I'm doing great. We also got Chris, I'm a Dog Brown, the Bulldog, the voice of the Portersville Bulldogs on the Boot Hill Sports Network. How are you, Mr. Brown?
Woof, woof, baby, woof, woof.
Got that dog in you?
I got that dog in me.
All right, guys. Let's talk about last week. One of you need to turn your background down, Jeremy. Hey, but anyway, let's get some thoughts on last week, man. Takeaways. I know the weather was very, very bad in all our areas, man, and we had some big games. All three of us had big games, as a matter of fact. Hayti, St. Vincent, Valley, and Crowsville, and then Portersville and Charleston, man. Jeremy, give me your takeaways on Valley, man. They're pretty tough, huh?
Everything you've read and heard about them is true. I'll say that. If you watched the coach's show last night, Coach G hit the nail on the head. Crowsville made 3 key mistakes that they've worked on, but when you look down there, when the quarterback would roll out to pass, the defense was going straight for the quarterback, and you had wide open receivers 3 times. And when I say wide open, I mean not a man within 10 or 15 yards. So 4 quick touchdowns. One of them, they just flat out ran over Crowsville, and then there was an errant snap that went into the end zone. Hudgens fell on it. So 30-0 at the half. That's pretty tough to come back from. Second half was a total different story, though. But you mentioned the weather. I'm telling you right now, that's the worst field conditions I've seen in 10, 15 years of covering high school football.
Chris, what you got takeaways on the Charleston team there, man?
Man, going into the game, I figured we'd win. I mean, just like anybody else, but hey, they impressed me. The field conditions were nasty. Of course, we lost a turnover battle 7-2. Seems like every fumble that Charleston had, they got back. But I know that, see, who plays them this week? Hayti, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Bernard Betts, number 1, and Canarius Clark, number 2. Those are 2 guys that you better keep your eye on. They can run, and, it was just an ugly game for us. I was a little surprised that it didn't seem like we had the intensity that we've had in the first 3 games. And, we're on a slide right now. Started out 3-0, now we're 3-2. And so we're just, I guess the best thing for Bulldog Nation to do is forget the past and focus on Malden, who's coming in for senior night this Friday night.
Yeah, homecoming at Hayti this week as we face St. Vincent. I'll tell you what, St. Vincent was very impressive in that second half. Props to Hayti's defense for shutting St. Vincent down, who come in averaging 38 points a game, which they almost got it in the second half. But to go in halftime at 0-0, you had to feel good about yourself. But straight from the kickoff there in the second half, man, as soon as Vermont took it to the house, they just turned it on from there, man. So St. Vincent's everything that we thought they'd be, and they're definitely going to be the team to beat in Class 1, District 1, man, for sure.
But see, and remember, St. Vincent's the only team that handed Valley a loss. So for Hayti to be able to put up a donut in the first half, that has to say something about the Hayti defense. I was shocked when I saw you update the score, and it was 0-0 at half. I really thought, wow, this Hayti is going to pull off what I would say their second big upset of the year.
Yeah, that's for sure, man. I was hoping that too. Of course, they just started throwing the ball. We got beat deep a couple times, and then, of course, that opening kickoff, he took 77 yards to the house, man. So, I mean, it's hard things to overcome, but Hayti's a very young team and should overcome. Jeremy, got your little girl in the background?
Yes. Honey, you gotta go in the living room.
I'll probably eat.
All right, so let's talk about Class 1. As far as the overall state rankings, Class 1 Number 1 is Marionville. They are 5-0. And there is St. Vincent, as they are the number 2 team in the state in Class 1 at 5-0. Adrian's number 3 at 4-1. Tipton, number 4 at 4-1. Van Far, who is also in Class 1, District 1, they are 5-0 currently. They've got 5th place there. Windsor at 6. Ash Grove at 7. Milan is tied for 7 with Ash Grove. Ash Grove is 4-1. Milan is 3-2. And then old Marceline, the home of Walt Disney, fellas. We've been there, ain't we, Chris?
Yes, we have. And ow, that hurt right there, man.
Yeah.
I may have to take a break here.
That last second field goal, boy. I tell you, 3-2 is Marceline. So old Salisbury, the state guys, they're 4-1, round up the top 10 in Class 1. Now let's move on to Class 2. State rankings. Fairgrove is number 1. Bowling Green number 2 at 5-0. Both of those teams are 5-0. And there is Valley Catholic. They moved up a spot with that win over Crowsville. They moved to number 3. They are 4-1 on the year. Warsaw at number 4. They are 5-0. Lafayette County is number 5 at 4-1. South Shelby at 5-0 is number 6. Lamar is number 7 at 3-2, guys. That's interesting, as they are the only loss. I believe they have 2 losses, and everybody else is undefeated in the top 10. Mid Buchanan 5-0. Mountain View Liberty, oh, they're 4-1. Mountain View Liberty's 4-1. South Harrison is 10-0. Jeremy, your Crooksville Tigers fell out of the top 10 on a loss to Valley Catholic, who is number 3 in the state now. How are you feeling about that?
I don't get it. I also didn't get how Caruthersville got to number 8, won their game, and then dropped to number 9, and then to go up a team against like Valley Catholic with their record and the opponents that they faced in the past, and just the way they've gone about their wins. You would think, and I don't know how far out they dropped, but I just know they're out of the top 10, and I'm a little surprised by it. But with the schedule coming up, I think by the end of the season they'll be back in the top 10 and probably higher than 8th, which is the highest they've been so far. I'm disappointed by the voting and the point system. I'll say that.
Yeah, the point system we'll get into as soon as we discuss these district standings. Now, Class 3, Blair Oaks is number 1 at 4-1. Seneca at number 2 at 5-0. And then there's a team from the old Boot Hill, number 3, the Dexter Bearcats. They are 5-0. Guys, I had the privilege of watching Dexter Saturday as they moved. You know, some games got moved to Saturday, and they played a tough South Boone team. And Dexter's loaded with some weapons, man. They might be bringing home a state title. We shall see. Marionville at number 4 at 3-2. Mount Vernon at 4-1 at number 5. St. Francis Borgia at 5-0 at number 6. Park Hill Central at 4-1, number 7. Stratford at 5-0, and there's that Southern Boone team. They are 3-2 at number 9, and then Booneville, number 10 at 4-1, and that is your Class 1 through 3 state rankings, guys. Any thoughts on those?
Go ahead, Jerry.
Good.
Go ahead, Chris.
I got to see some of that Dexter game too, and it was pretty impressive. Especially the down years they've had in the past, and they got a new coach as well, I do believe. And sometimes it takes a year or two, but man, they got a running back. I don't know if you probably seen him. If you've seen them play, that boy, young man, whoo, he's something else. You talk about a fire plug. It bounces off everything.
Yeah, Jet Grahams.
Jet Grahams, yes. I was really impressed with Dexter. And
got a perfect name.
Yep.
Yeah, sure does. He's rushed for over 100 yards in all but one game, man. Yeah. So he's good, man. Ain't no doubt about it.
He's like Jay Bogan, but a lot bigger.
Yeah, Jeremy. He's
averaging 12.6 a carry.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a horse.
Caruthersville dropped to 12.
Yeah. They did get four votes out of the 8, I think. There's 8 guys that do that, I do believe. Maybe 9. But anyway, All right, now we're going to move on and talk about Class 1, District 1 matchups, and we'll talk about the teams there. Of course, number 1 is St. Vincent. They are at 5-0. They're going to play Bayless, who's at 2-3. So I look for St. Vincent to get another win there and hold on to their number 1 in district standings. Number 2 is Van Far. They're playing Bowling Green at 5-0. So somebody's going to get their first loss of the year, as Van Far is 5-0 and Bowling Green 5-0. And then here is, as we talked about the point system in Missouri, and this is what I don't get. Crystal City is number 3 in District 1. They are 1-4, and they are ranked number 3. They play a Class 4 Roosevelt team who is 2-3. Crystal City's schedule, they only play 2 Class 1 teams, so they're ranking up the points by moving up and playing even though they're losing. That's something that the state of Missouri needs to work on, man. How do you guys feel about that?
I'll jump in here. I've hated the point system for a long time. When Hayti was bad, I hated it. When Hayti was good, I hated it. And it's just like, well, I know we'll get into District 2, but it's just like Portageville is sitting at 2nd, and Scott City is 4th, and Scott City beat them on their field. I just don't like the point system. I wish they would do something about that, but I've never liked it and still don't.
No, and you're not the only one. Us 3 are not the only ones, because it's been talked about for as long as I can remember. Crystal City is the perfect example. You just think about college football. Would a 1-4 team be in the top 25? Would in the NFL, if you're 1-4, you're probably not even making the playoffs. So it should trickle down where they've got to some fixing to do. I don't know that I have all the answers for it, but a 1-4 team, just because they're playing higher classes, shouldn't be ranked number 3 in the state with a 1-4 record.
Well, you're always going to have terrible Class 5 teams. You're always going to have terrible Class 4 teams, and you're always going to have terrible Class 3 teams. And as long as you've got that, the point system is going to be terrible, because playing up doesn't necessarily mean anything. I mean, it does, but it shouldn't. Not against a horrible team.
That's right. Exactly right. Hey, and then Charleston is number 4 in the district. They are 3-2, and then Hayti is number 5 at 2-3. These two teams play each other Friday night in Hayti for homecoming. Hayti is led by J.C. Ford, one of the top area passers, and we'll talk about area leaders here in a little bit. I tell you what, my thoughts on this game is Hayti is going to have to toughen up. Charleston, as you said earlier, got 2 playmakers. They got a pretty good defense as well, right, Chris?
Yeah, a great defensive line. They blocked us up pretty much all night. Seemed like we did break off a couple runs, but their defensive line is big, and it seems like them boys know how to play. I know sometimes just because you're big doesn't necessarily mean anything. But, the Charleston team that, Mark, we're used to, being with Hayti and, rolling over them, you're not going to get that. They're a lot better, and that coach has got that team turned around. And, kudos to Charleston, too, for getting back on the winning track. And they got a big defensive tackles, that's for sure.
All right, and then the Veritas Christian.
I got to see.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I got to see Charleston. Crothersville's already beat them. That was at their field. Held them to 6 points, which I think we know about the Crothersville defensive and that strong line they got, senior-led line. And I think Oscar Dominguez had right at around 20 tackles in that game. But Charleston has speed, and the 2 guys that you named, Clark and Betts, you don't know who's getting the ball on any given snap. You don't know who's getting the ball. So you got to stay on your toes on D, that's for sure.
And let me add this too, Mark. That Charleston, for most of the first quarter and most of the second quarter, ran pretty much Betts at quarterback, and before they brought in their real quarterback is what I called him, Chase. His name's Chase something, I can't remember, but so they run some different looks. They run some different looks at you, but Betts and number 1 and number 2 are what you got to watch out for, and defensive line.
So they stay true to their numbers, huh? Number 1 and number 2.
Yep.
Top 2 players. All right, then Veritas Christian is behind Hayti. They're at Wright City. Wright City is 3-2. Veritas Christian at 1-3. And then Malden at Portersville. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Portersville is 3-2. Malden 0-5. Chaffee is at Confluence Prep. Confluence Prep is 3-2. Of course, Chaffee is winless. And then Louisiana rounds out Class 1, District 1, and they play North Callaway. And Louisiana has yet to win a game as well. So definitely, I think the top 2 teams, maybe 3 teams, and maybe we can say 4. I don't know much about Van Far because they're on up there, but Charleston, St. Vincent, and Hayti, I can see any one of those teams winning that district, man. So Hayti and St. Vincent, I look forward for that rematch, to be honest with you. But we shall see. And now we'll move on and we'll talk about Class 2. Man, we got one heck of a game this week, guys, in Class 2 we'll get to in a minute. Of course, Class 2, District 1, led by those Valley Catholic Warriors. They have played St. Jean. St. Jean is 3-2. Of course, Valley Catholic 4-1. They only lost to that St. Vincent team. Then Portersville is the number 2 seed in the district, as Chris said earlier, taking on the Malden Green Wave at 0-5. Portersville 3-2. They have 135 points for, and they're also averaging, let's see, 27 a game and giving up 14.8 a game. So their stats are not bad, Chris. They actually have 41.40 points for second place. Thoughts on the game this Friday night, Chris?
Well, like I say, we're going to be looking to turn things around. We was on top of the world at 3-0, and now it seems like we're trying to scrap and claw at 3-2. But our defense is still impressive, and Jay Bogan is impressive, and on both sides of the ball. And so, I'm looking forward to the game. I'm sure that Coach Luke Rayfield and his staff will not take Malden lightly, especially after the way we played last week, because, we just didn't really look that good, weather or whatever. But looking forward to this game, looking forward to getting off the slide and even, getting to 4-2 and then seeing how the rest of the year plays out.
Okay, and then the number 3 team in the district is the Crowsville Tigers as they take on the Scott City Rams, who are 4-1. Scott City is actually the 4th team in the district. So it'll be an interesting game, Jeremy. We'll have that one on the Boot Hill Sports Network as well. And you got to face one of the top running backs, and Rustin Underwood is going to be joining us here in a little while. What do you think? Your thoughts on the game there, Jeremy? You're going to have some area leaders in both offense, defense, special teams. Man, what a matchup we got here for you on the Boot Hill Sports Network Friday night.
Well, it's going to come down to just exactly what you said. We've got to stop Underwood. Just looking at his stats, 136 attempts, 954 yards. He's averaging 7 yards a carry, which as well as I do. You average 7 yards a carry. That's winning football games. And he's already touched pay dirt 11 times. So it's got to be up front at first. You got to win in the trenches. That's all there is to it. And the Crowsville defense has proven that. Valley Catholic aside, they average allowing only around 14 points a game, and they've gone out there. They've put up 53, 45 a couple times. So I look for the Crowsville offense. It's going to be totally different than what we saw, I think, in Valley, just because of the rain. It was so thick and coming down so heavy that the Sammy Bryant and Jermonte Alexander runs to the outside weren't happening because they couldn't plant their feet. So I think it's going to come down to the rushing game. I don't know that much about the passing game of Scott City. I know with Chris, I was watching the Portersville game, and it looked like there for a while Portersville had a handle on them right there till the final ticks, that interception now, and the run back. But Scott City, to me, I don't know. They seem like they're kind of, I hate to use the word beatable, but I think the Tigers have the advantage. I believe they're favored by a field goal, if I'm not mistaken. But I think I think the Crothersville Tigers have a chip on their shoulder, and I would like, if I would out on a limb, I'd say at least a 2-touchdown lead or score for the Tigers, just because we're talking about a dry surface, and we're talking about Sammy Bryant, who was the top rusher until last week. He was held at only 40 yards at Valley, but everyone's healthy, everyone's excited, and it's supposed to be a beautiful night for Friday Night Lights up in Scott City, and I can't wait to bring it to you folks at home. Because you got to stop the run. That's all there is to it. Got to stop Mr. Underwood.
Yeah, Scott City's got a great quarterback in Jackson Gloff as well, man. He can throw it, and I believe he's their kicker too. So, and Scott City has that nice turf field and nice press box up there for you, Jeremy. So, ought to be an interesting game. I look forward to that one for sure. Chris, any thoughts on that game?
I'd say
you think Scott City as well.
Yes, I'm glad we're going to have Rustin on because he's impressive. He's going to be the balance up against Sammy Bryant, and you're going to see two of the best running backs in the area between them two teams. And I kind of wished I was able to watch it. I'm sure I'll watch it the next day, after our broadcast, but I'm a little envious of you, Jeremy, because I think it's going to be a great game. And Scott City's got some great players. They sure do. And they got a good passing game, too.
Yeah.
The quarterback just makes whatever it takes, they do it.
And that's one thing that Coach G said that they're focusing on this week in practice is because it was the passing game that hurt them in Valley to start the game, no doubt. So it'll be a combination. If somehow they can, Crothersville can find a way to stop the run, or at least slow it down a little bit, then and they have to start passing. That's where we're gonna have to see Bryant and Lockridge and of course Monte Alexander in the backfield ready. As Monte leads the, we're gonna get to those stats later too, but he's leading the area in interceptions. So he might have a busy night come Friday night, tomorrow night.
I tell you what, that's a double threat. Him on offense and defense, Jeremy. You got a secret weapon in that guy.
Yep.
Ain't too many guys. He's
and
like
word spread about him.
Are we talking about Alexander? We talking about Alexander?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Hey, it seems like 4 years ago I was impressed with him. I know he ain't been in high school that long, but man, he was a stud player in basketball. 2 years ago when he was a freshman, and so
him and Sammy,
and him and Sammy, right? So
it's
good to have him still.
All right, man. Let's finish out the district. Well, East Prairie, they play a prep team called TDW. I believe that's a new prep school out of St. Louis. East Prairie is 3-2. I did not see anything on TDW prep. And then New Madrid County Central takes on Kennett 0-5, New Madrid 1-4. That's a program that's really changed within the last year. Kelly, I do not want to be in Kelly's shoes. Think they're going to Dexter Bearcats. Dexter, of course, 5-0 and number 3 in the state. Speaking of Dexter, let's look at their schedule, guys. They opened up the year at Malden, winning that one 57-8. Then they beat Sykeston 49-7, and they beat New Madrid 40-0. East Prairie 36-0. So they're not only doing it offensively, they're doing it defensively. And then, of course, the win Saturday over Southern Boone 24-21. Kelly was looking forward to a great season, but they're off to a little bad start at 2-3, guys. I really expect Dexter to go on and win that one as well. And speaking of that, let's go on and talk about Class 3 District 1. Go ahead, Jeremy. You got any comments on that?
No, I was just agreeing with you. I think Dexter's is a train, and the rest of the teams are just on the tracks right now.
There we go. We got TDW's record is 3-1.
Yeah. Thank you, Sherman, for that.
Yeah, Sherman. Sherman is also a member of the Boot Hill Sports Network team, as he does the stats for us, the games and games coming up. Games will be around the area, and then updates us all through the night. So special shout out to Sherm there. Sherm is our Al Jackson. Is that right, fellas?
Yes, he is. I love.
I had to agree.
Update to come in. Yes, correct.
All right, Class
we'll
3,
have to
District 1,
remind
led
him.
by. Go ahead, Jeremy.
No, you go ahead, Mark. Class 3. No, I was just going to say to Sherman that your Braves are the same place these boys are. So, see you next season.
There you go. Dexter at Kelly. Kelly's 2-3, of course. We just talked about that game. Central Park Hills is number 2. They play Potosi, who is 2-3. St. Jean at Valley. So I would not want to be St. Jean this week. As Valley, of course, 4-0. St. Jean 3-2. Fredericktown is 2-3. They take on DeSoto, who is 2-3. Potosi and Fredericktown. Nope. So I got something wrong there. Fredericktown plays Potosi, I believe it is. Herculaneum versus Grandview. And then Kennett versus New Madrid there. As Kennett still looks for win number 1. Now, let's talk about some offensive leaders, guys. And we're going to have Underwood on here a little bit. Of course, he is the leader as far as rushing. But passing-wise, Haytai's quarterback, J.C. Ford, comes in at number 1. He is 62 of 98 with 1,100 yards. He's got 11 touchdowns and only 2 INTs. And one of those come last week in that St. Vincent game, in that pouring down mess that we had. Nick Buckeye out of St. Vincent, he's number 2. He had a good solid game last week as well. He's got 56 of 114, 1,045 yards, 12 touchdowns, and only 1 INT. So that is pretty impressive, guys. And then we skip down to number 7 because that's where our next player in the area is, and that's Jackson Gloth out of Scott City there, Jeremy. 31 of 63, 449 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 INTs. So he can sling it as well. 63 attempts. You can see as they got a double threat in Gloth with his arm and then Underwood with his leg. So interesting game coming up, man. I can't wait. And then a guy from Dexter, Jackson Howard, rounds out the top 10. He's 22 of 42, 377 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 5 INTs. But when you got a running back like Dexter does, you don't have to throw the ball. So pretty impressive, guys. We got
I think those are third and long situations.
Yeah. We got 5 players in our area in that top 10, so that's pretty awesome, I think.
100%.
Kudos to Jason Ford.
J.C. Ford is a sophomore, man. Ain't that crazy?
Wearing that number 5, like I say.
Yeah,
a
it's
little
like,
bit of Trayvon Thomas.
That's what I told Coach Robinson a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, Trayvon had to step in as a freshman one game and threw 5 touchdowns against Malden, and
yes,
we
he
was
did.
all scared to death. But and then went on to have one of the best careers in Hayti history. So
yeah,
keep on going, J.C. Ford.
To watch him develop was something else, and we're going to watch that with J.C. Ford. At least I'm hoping. Hope I'm still here to see it a couple years down the road. But I'll tell you what, man, he's exciting to watch. Man, he can scramble, he can run it, he can throw it. So, J.C. Ford, if you're out there listening, man, congratulations on being the offensive leader going through week 5, guys. That's another thing. We are halfway through the season, man. We're just flying on by.
It's went quick, guys. It just seemed like the season just started last week. Like I say, going into week 6. We're going into week 6. Be playoff time right around the corner. Yeah,
that's right. I know for just speaking for the Crothersville team.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
Being halfway through the season, it's weird because it feels like Crothersville hasn't been at home in forever, and this actually tomorrow night will just be the third straight week out of a 4-game road trip that ends up in at the teepee in Hayti. So, but you're right. You guys are right. It seems like the season's flying by to talk about these records and some of these numbers that we're about to get into, especially with the rushing. It's remarkable what kids in the boot are doing.
Yeah, and thanks to our friends at Seymour Ball who put all this together for us, and we can use as far as information and sharing it to our listeners out there. Hey, and I know we all had a bad week last week as far as our teams losing, and but overall, Boot Hill Sports Network put up some great ratings, guys. We set records, and we need to thank all our listeners out there. And I approached you guys 3-4 years ago when we talked about putting all this together, man, and to watch our growth. It means a lot to me, and I appreciate you guys jumping on board with me and helping me out. So our listeners out there, we thank y'all. I hope you continue to bring you the good excitement on Friday nights. I mean, no other network's going to bring you 3 games every Friday night but the Boot Hill Sports Network.
That's right.
All right, let's go on to the
Especially
rushing.
with the love and the passion.
That's right. Number 1 is Rustin Underwood out of Scott City. 136 attempts, 954 yards. He's averaging 7 yards a carry. He has 11 touchdowns. And then Tavion Ware out of East Prairie. He has 111 attempts, 824 yards. And 7.4 is his average with 10 touchdowns, guys. We're going to see those guys definitely go over 1,000 yards this season. And at number 3 is Mr. Sammy Bryant out of Caruthersville. He has 108 attempts, 783 yards. 7.3 is his average, Jeremy. And he's got 14 touchdowns. What do you think about that, Jeremy?
Hey, I'll tell you, he'd be... Well, I think... He actually would be. He's touched the end zone, I want to say 18 times, and due to either penalties or there was one fumble, his numbers would be a little bit higher. Now, he went from a game 2 weeks ago at Charleston where he rushed for, I believe it was 283, to a game last week against Valley to where they held him to just 40 yards. So that's where that big lead, because he was number 1 until this week, and then Underwood, rightfully so, has the number 1 spot. Sammy dropped down to 3. And then you got yourself one of the best nicknames in the Boot Hill down there at number 11 in the state.
Yeah, that's right. Isaiah showed me some love from Hate Ties down there at number 11. He's got 472 yards. His average is 13.5 and then 5 touchdowns. Hey, but speaking of Mr. Rustin Underwood, he has just entered the old green room. We got him in the studio. Rustin is our Boot Hill Sports Network Player of the Week this week, and it's his 2nd week in a row, guys. He's actually won it, so let's welcome Mr. Underwood in. Thank you, Rustin. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Oh, man, I'm doing great. Hey, nice to have you, man. We appreciate you joining us right here on the Boot Hill Sports Network. Now, first of all, tell our listeners out there a little background on Rustin Underwood. I know you got a family legacy down there in Scott City, do you not?
Yeah, I do. Started off with my brother, and then it went to Tyson. He graduated last year, and now it's me. So I kind of just got to keep going. I don't know.
Keeping the old family tradition going, ain't you? Just running the ball, scoring touchdowns.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, man. You are the number 1 area rusher. How does that feel, man? I mean, you obviously putting in hard work there at Scott City, man, and you're carrying a lot of the workload for the 4-1 Scott City round. So you guys are having a pretty good year.
Yeah. I know it might be number 1, but I mean, it's pretty awesome, but it kind of just matters to me if we win. I don't know. I just want to win. I don't really care about the stats, to be honest.
There you go. Great team attitude there, buddy. Chris, you got anything for Mr. Underwood?
Man, Rustin, you broke my heart, man. You killed my Bulldogs here a couple of weeks ago. That was a great game. It was Scott City won 28-24. That's one of the best games I've seen in a long time. Just real quick, I do got a question for you though. You guys got a new coach. Coach May was there for a long, long time, and you got a new coach this year. How's things been for you and some of the senior leaders on your team adjusting to the new, I guess you could say, style of your new coach there in Scott City?
Coach May, he was a very like loud, heavy set, like get you hyped up type of guy. and his plays were a lot more simple to understand. But when it comes to Coach Bo's kind of like Phil, and he's just kind of like polar opposite to Coach May, and his plays are very like, I guess if you've ever seen like videos of like NFL people or NFL like quarterbacks talking about their plays, they're a lot like them. Like they're just a lot of words and stuff like that. It's just they're completely polar opposite coaches. Like I've loved Coach Bo though. He's a very good coach, very smart.
One more question I got for you before I'll let Jeremy talk. You guys have got a nice turf field up there in Scott City. I've had it for a little while. As a running back, which style of field do you prefer? Do you like the turf better than the grass? Because playing around in the area, not everybody has turf. It may just be Hayti and Scott City. How do you feel about which surface would you rather run the ball on?
I'd probably rather run it on a grass field, because if you hit the ground on a turf, like in a way, like you'll get burns, and it does not feel good.
Got that concrete underneath there too, don't it?
Thank you, Rusty.
Yeah.
I appreciate the time, but
Yeah. Well, Rustin, I'll have the privilege to see you tomorrow night. My Tigers will be headed your way. What can you say about, obviously, with your incredible stats, by the way, congratulations at the number 1 spot. Your blockers in front of you, your line, any shout-outs that got to be opening up some holes out there for you?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes. A lot of them we were all real close, and I feel like that's very important when it comes to, being a running back, because, I mean, if they want, they don't have to block and just let me get blown up or anything. Like, just I'm very close with all of them, and I do love every single one of them. A lot of them are in my grade, and we've just been best friends since I don't know how long, and they mean a lot.
That's great. Yeah, it's important to have that kind of camaraderie, and you can usually see it on the field. I can't wait for the game tomorrow night, because it's the Tigers are 4-1, you guys are 4-1. I think it's a hard game to predict, which most high school football games are. Does your team focus? Is it a run first team? Because that's what Coach Guglielmo from the Tigers focuses on. It's run first. Is that how you guys are too?
For right now, probably. Are you talking about like with our team, like how we run things, or how we're looking at you guys?
No, just basically how your offense runs. Would you say your coach, Coach Bo, was it? Mm-hmm. That you guys do you focus on the run first, pass second, or is it just kind of 50-50 down the middle?
Honestly, we're trying to do 50-50, but a lot of the times, like last week, we couldn't really throw with the rain. It really,
yeah.
You could see I had a lot of carries, and we couldn't really help it last week. But we're really trying to get it 50-50, because, I mean, if you just watch film and just see like we just keep running it, I mean that's easy to stop, and we're just trying to be the most versatile we can.
Well, I hope you guys are excited about the game as the guys down here, because to me, it's by far one of the games to watch in the state. And you hate that there always has to be a loser. And before I turn it back over to Mark, I want to say good luck tomorrow night. Everyone play safe and healthy and happy. And I think at the end of I think it's going to come down to the fourth quarter. I really do. I think these two teams match up really well on paper.
Yes, sir. I believe that. I totally agree with you.
Hey,
so
Rusty,
you're ready? I'm good, because I'll be calling. Go ahead, Mark.
Rusty, what was the? Let's take you back a few weeks ago into the Hayti game that I had the privilege of being there broadcasting. What was your mindset once you come out of that thing and that was your first loss, man? Did the morale drop a little bit, and then Coach had to pick you guys back up to get you where you're at now, or?
Going into that game, a lot of us thought, I mean, no offense to Hayti, but a lot of us going into that really thought it was gonna be a blowout. I mean, SEMA Ball thought it. Everybody around us thought it.
Yeah, right.
yeah, we went in there thinking we were just gonna whoop their butt, and they smacked us in the mouth, and they taught us a lesson that you don't do that. And it really, Coach Bo showed us a picture of his state championship team in 2021, and something similar to them happened, and now they were state champs, and after that game, and they never lost another game. But it definitely changed the way that we look at teams now.
Yeah, there's nothing like a good wake up call, man, to make that happen. It's probably, and I kind of thought that as an announcer, and being a Hayti alum, and it's like just like you guys were overlooking Hayti there, man, and that'll happen to you. It not only to Scott City, it happens to some of the best teams around our area, man, and just caught Hayti on a good night, man. J.C. Ford, the area leading passer, man, as we talked about him a while ago. But you got a tough game tomorrow night against that Crothersville defense, and you got a guy named Oscar Dominguez that he's tough, and that Crothersville defense is real stout, man. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I don't know names very well, but we're definitely going to try to, like I said, be the most versatile we can. But I mean, it's going to come down to it, like Jeremy said, in the fourth quarter. Like, I really feel like this is going to be like we're gonna go at it. It's going to be a very good game.
Good deal,
no
man.
No rain either. So that'll be a really good one.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of that rain, man, how did that feel? Playing in that monsoon like that last Friday night.
Oh, it felt good. I kind of liked it.
That was good, man.
I was hoping
that's what we love to hear.
I was hoping it would be muddy, but it wasn't.
Oh, you should have come up to Valley then.
I saw the film. That was bad.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, Rustin, man, we appreciate you joining us. We'll have a football and plaque for you later on in the year. You'll actually get two, man. A two-time player of the week and back-to-back, man. So congratulations, young man, and you keep doing what you're doing, man. You got a bright future. And we will see you tomorrow night on the Boot Hill Sports Network. Make sure you tell all of the people there in Scott City that can't come, we'll have that game for them on the Boot Hill Sports Network.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, man.
Thanks a lot.
That is a
congratulations.
Thank you.
Great young man in Rustin Underwood, guys. I tell you what, man, he's one heck of a running back.
Yeah,
I got a feeling I'll be saying his name a lot.
Yeah, I know when we played them, we went up. We were up pretty good at the half, and he come back in the second half. I don't know what their coach told him in the locker room, but he had scored back-to-back touchdowns and kind of just put a shock on us. So, hey, he's a great kid, man. Good athlete, and he can run that ball.
All right, let's finish out talking about the rest of the top area leaders. At number 4 was J. Con Bowden of Portersville, Chris. Yeah, 114 for 706. He's averaging 6.2 and 11 touchdowns. He's a pretty stout fellow on offense and defense.
Yes, he is. I'm sure that he's number 4. I'm sure any defense that preps for Portersville is quite aware of who he is and where he's at on the field. That line we got, not to switch focus off him, but, our center got injured. Zach Lovins, he's injured, and actually Jay's little brother, Tay Bogan, is actually filled in at center for us the last couple of games, and we got a great offensive line that's responsible for a lot of that. But Jay Bogan's just a freak of nature, and he's a little fire plug too, and he's a great runner, and I'm proud for him and look for more things to come with him.
Well, you got the Bogan family, the athletes in that family. Speaking of the Bogan, Kenyon won the Crothersville Player of the Game, right, Jeremy?
That's right. Kenyon with me and Mark. I know. I'm not sure about Chris. We've known him for a long, long time, and well deserving. He's a senior captain on that line. And before we get off of the rushing, I just want to say how when you look at the top 4, you've got Underwood that just number 1 who just joined us, and then you got the kid Ware from East Prairie, and then Caruthersville and Portersville round out the top 4. To have 3 of the top 4 right there, Scott City, Caruthersville, and Portersville, that just says something about south of Cape Girardeau, south of St. Louis, what's going on down here. For those that don't know about it.
That's right, man. We got some area athletes, and that's one reason why we started this, so we can get those guys some coverage that they well deserved. And number 5, guys, is the kid from Dexter we just talked about, Jet Grahams. He's got only 51 carries, but he has 643 yards, 12.6 is his average, and he has 9 touchdowns on the year. And Jeremy, if you haven't got a chance to watch him, you need to go watch some highlight reel on that young man.
I plan on it. I got some free time tomorrow.
Well, we're going to move down to number 7, Trez Clark out of Charleston, 81 for 588, 7.3, and he has 4 touchdowns on the year. And then we'll move on down to number 11, has Isaiah Love out of Hayti, 35 carries for 472 yards, averaging 13.5 and 5 touchdowns. And then there is Mr. Betts out of Charleston, as Chris mentioned him a little while ago at number 13. He's 43 of 411. He averages 9.6 and 6 touchdowns. So that is our area leader in rushing, guys. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I think eight guys there, 9 guys in the area as far as rushing out of the top 15. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, what that tells me is there's a lot of great offensive linemen in this area too, because
that's right.
It don't matter what you got as a running back, you got to have some O line to block for them, and so that's what it tells me. There's a lot of good O linemen in this area as well.
Yes. All right, receiving wise, well, we also have some guys in our area. Number 2 is John Schwartz out of St. Vincent. He actually had a touchdown last week against the Hayti Indians. He's got 15 catches for 364 yards. He's averaging 24.3 and 4 touchdowns. And then Jermonte Alexander out of Crowsville. He's the number 3 guy. 26 receptions, 289 yards, averaging 11.1 and 4 touchdowns, and he's a special kind of two-way athlete there, Jeremy.
Yeah, he is, and every now and then, and when I say every now and then, it's just more of the once in a blue moon. Will the Tigers really go for the deep ball? When in Jermonte, he's more of kind of out in the flats, and that's the reason that he averages 11.1 is when you need that first down. You get a couple blockers in front of him, throw maybe a screen pass, and let Monte do the rest. So that's why he's up as far as he is. And the 4 touchdowns, that's just on offense. You said a two-way player. Well, he also, we'll get to it here in a minute, of what he does on defense. He's touched the end zone more than just 4 times, I'll say that.
Right. That's right. All right. Let's see. And then the next kid is Max Wheeler out of St. Vincent. He's number 3. I had the privilege of seeing him last week, too, and he's got some good size on him. He's more like he's got the height of a tight end. He wears that number 87 as well. He's got 13 catches for 289 yards. He's averaging 22.2 a catch. So, man, that's crazy. And he's got 3 touchdowns on the year. And then we'll move down to number 8. At number 8 sits Jeremy Alexander of the Hayti Indians. He has 19 receptions, 247 yards. He's averaging 13 yards a catch, and he has 3 touchdowns. And then right behind him, the next 3 is all Hayti Indians at 8, 9, and 10. Number 9 is Isaiah Love. He also can catch the ball, not just run it. He's got 6 catches for 240 yards, averaging 40 yards a catch, guys, and 4 touchdowns. That's unbelievable numbers. And right behind him is number 10 is Timothy Hamilton Jr., the former Portersville Bulldog, Chris. He's got 15 catches, 234 yards. He's averaging 15.6 with 1 touchdown. And I don't think they've actually targeted Timmy enough here lately, man. I know his catches have been down the last few weeks, man. So, of course, St. Vincent did some good coverage on him as well. But then we'll move on down to Lane Holder out of Scott City. He ranks number 13. He's got 11 catches for 200 yards. He averaging 18.2 a catch, Jeremy. So Alexander's probably going to have to make sure he's all over Mr. Holder.
Well, it's a great thing that Alexander is the athlete that he is, because I got a feeling he's going to be doing it on both sides of the field. I have no doubt. He does not miss very many plays. So Alexander is going to be, we're going to need him on offense and defense. And luckily with that, like we talked about the turf up in Scott City, maybe he can have a little more footing under his feet. And it's going to be a great game. But what does that say for Hayti to have, 8, 9, and 10 right there? Just like the St. Vincent, there's a reason that they are where they are with 2 and 4. When you got 2 of the top 5 receivers in the standings, and then 7, 8, and 9, there's a reason that these teams are as good as they are.
Yeah, that's for sure, man. And then Gramont at number 14 out of St. Vincent, and then Mathis out of Malden rounds out the top 15. Now let's get into the big guys here, the defensive leaders, man. We got some good ones. You got one great one named Oscar Dominguez over in Carruthersville, who leads the way with 70 tackles, Jeremy.
You wouldn't think it if you got to know this kid. Great kid. He's been on our show. Yeah. He was a player of the week one week. But I'm telling you, he does I'll call it his profession. The way that he plays the football, you don't even know he's there. But by golly, every time you look down, even before the PA announcer can say tackle made by Oscar Dominguez, you know it was him. You can hear it every time. The way he hits, he's all over the field. And yeah, he's number 1 with 70 tackles as we head into week 6, and that number is just gonna skyrocket throughout the season. He is one of the most underrated players, I think, in the area.
Yeah, most definitely. And then right behind him is Jamari Alexander of the Hayti Indians. He's 64 tackles on the year, and Jamari is a beast. He's also one player, Hayti Player of the Week for us. And then number 3 is the kid out of St. Vincent, is Carson House. He made a few house calls in that backfield last week against the Hayti Indians. I called his name a few times. And then we got a Branham from Charleston at 49 tackles. He's at number 6. We got Zion Bell out of Malden at number 7 with 46. And then you got another Carruthersville Tiger at number 8 there in Jackson Napier. Jeremy, he's got 45 tackles. Tell us a little bit about Napier.
Napier also, he's actually related to my wife, so he's family. Another great kid. He's quiet. He's speedy fast. He's one of those kids that you'll see the play and you think maybe the quarterback or the running back's got room to go, and then bam, there's I believe it's number 45. Napier is one of the leaders on the line, and I'm not saying that I'm surprised where he's at. I just think that a lot of people in the area don't know that Jackson is, and I mean it's hard to compete with Oscar, but for Jackson to be that high that just says something about the Carruthersville line, because he's there for the tackle all the time. At least to clean it up if that's what he has to do. Great kid though.
All right, then we'll move on down the list. And number 13, Chris, is Houston Pardon out of Portersville. He's got 42 tackles.
Yeah, this defense, like I say, they got some young. I know Houston Parton is a senior, and he's, he plays a safety, defensive back, even that linebacker some, and he seems to be in on a lot of tackles. But Portersville defense has got some young guys. I don't know how many more you got on that list. Any more Bulldogs on that list?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna mention at number 17, Brody Warren. He's got 40. That's the kid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the kid who was in the backfield all night against Hayti, right?
Yeah, number 20, Brody Warren. He's a sophomore, and man, he seems to be all around the ball. I know these are big shoes to fill, but he kind of reminds me of Spoon, Jason Weatherspoon. His nose is always in the ball, and it ain't just him. But there's a lot of guys in that Portersville defense that's, a big reason why they won the first 3 games. But Brody Warren is definitely someone to watch out for in the future. Sophomore linebacker for the Portersville Bulldogs.
Hey, you got another one on the list too, Chris, at number 24. That's Cross Howard. He has 38 tackles.
Yeah, Cross Howard, he's a senior, number 44. Man, he seems to be around the ball too. These guys, one thing I said, these guys are sure tacklers. You don't get away from them very often. Hadn't seen it much, but Cross Howard does a great job. He's a senior leader on that defense. Another one I'll add though is number 60, Jacob Altice, who was the leading tackler last week in that Mud Bowl we had at Charleston. He's a defensive tackle. He also is on the offensive line, plays left guard as well. Just a bunch of superstars around the defense for the Portersville Bulldogs.
And then as we go on, we're going to talk about sack leaders. And this is why Dexter is also still undefeated, is Nolan Alford and Caleb Gott are number 1 and 2, as they got 9 sacks and 5 sacks apiece there. And Chris tied at number 2 there is a Portersville Bulldog and Mr. Maddox Morgan. He has 5 sacks on the year.
That's another one. Maddox Morgan, yes. He, I believe he's, let's see. Yeah, number 16, I believe he is. Yeah, he's a junior. Like I say, there's 11 guys on defense, and it seems like, all 11 are outstanding. There's probably 7 or 8 that seems to be in on every tackle. And Maddox Morgan's had some big plays. He's a defensive tackle. He also plays at the linebacker spot. And yes, he's had some sacks for the Bulldog defense as well.
Then you got Aikens out of Chaffee. He's got 5. Orr out of Charleston with 4. And then tied for number 5 is Ricky Bryant out of Hayti. He's got 4 sacks. And Ricky is actually a converted running back, man. And I tell you what, a couple of weeks ago, I think he had 3 sacks in one game, man. He was just against Veritas. He was all in that backfield causing havoc, man. And I like to see that for Ricky Bryant. He's been hurt a lot, He's overcome some injuries, man. He's moved positions, and it's working out well for him on that defensive side for Hayti. And then got another Portersville Bulldog in here at number 7, and Eli Wheeler.
Yeah, Eli Wheeler, another junior. He's plays right guard as well. He's one of the offensive linemen for the Dogs, but he's a defensive tackle, and we've just got a great run defense. I think the passing defense, and I'm sure the coaches know this. They got a lot to improve on, but that run defense we got is pretty solid, and yes, Eli Wheeler is a big part of that.
And then looks like
I gotta jump in real quick. I gotta jump in real quick. Just before we moved on, we did skip one of the local tacklers. Just one tackle ahead of one of the guys from Portersville, Chaz Thomas, one of our players of the week. Chaz Thomas is at 14, ranked 14, tied for 14th in tackles. One tackle ahead of Portersville, and I just wanted to say, so we didn't skip him. Chaz is one of those linebackers.
Right.
Yeah, he's one of those linebackers that if somehow the running back is trying to get up the middle and somehow breaks through that Crothersville line, Chaz is there waiting on him. And we had him on the show with the coach's show as a player of the week, and he's got a bright future ahead of him. And I just make sure we didn't leave him out. But yeah, he's right there with Brody, just one tackle ahead of Brody from Portersville. So just a shout out to Chaz real quick. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Mark.
Oh, you're good, man. Sorry about that, Chaz, looking over that one. Number 7 is Carter Berger out of Scott City. He's got 3 sacks. Logan Pullum from Dexter with 3. And then Jack Seaball out of St. Vincent has 3. Seaball is also a running back. He got a touchdown against the Indians last week as well. And then interceptions, I think we all know who number 1 is. We've been talking about him a little bit tonight. Jamonte Alexander out of Crowsville with 6 picks, man. Wow.
Well, the thing is with Alexander, and a lot of times quarterbacks, when they make a mistake, is when they're under pressure. They end up throwing what you would like to call a jump ball. Nobody's going to out-jump Jamonte Alexander. I tell you that right now. If number 8's in the vicinity and that ball is somewhere in the air, number 8's going to go up and grab it. He's got 6, and he's not a selfish player, because when I say that, what I say by that, I mean that if it's a chance for him to definitely get both hands on it, take it the other way, he will. But he will not. I don't know for sure how many pass deflections he has this year, but it's a bunch, and most of them have come in the end zone. So he's there on the play, and if it's in the area, watch out. And also, his number would be a little bit higher, but he's had a couple called back for some silly penalties, I believe, or otherwise. But either way, that's what I said. That's what I was leading up to, is that in this game tomorrow night against Scott City, that's what number 8 is on a dry turf. And they've got a good quarterback, they got a great running back, a great duo there. And I think we got the same when it comes to Crothersville. Alexander with 6 leads the way.
How many pick sixes does he have, Jeremy?
I think 3. I think 3 and 1 called back.
Yeah, he had 2 in one game, did he not?
Yes, he did. Sure did.
Yeah. All right, and then tied for number 2, Chris, is Evan Windsor out of Portersville. He's got 4. I know he had a pick 6 against Kennett.
Against Kennett, yes, he did. I don't think we've had many interceptions this year. We might have had 4 or 5. I'm not sure, but yeah, he had a big one against Kennett. That was that turned the game around, and that was a big. Their quarterback was scrambling. I think he was 30 yards behind the line of scrimmage trying to make something happen, and ended up throwing a pick 6 and got that old Bulldog crowd excited, and that was an exciting play.
All right, and then next on the list, looks like we got a lot of guys with 2 picks on the year. Jackson Gloss out of Scott City, Lane Miller out of Scott City, and then Jeremy, we got a Josiah Lockridge on there from Carruthersville.
And I can recall both of those interceptions. His interceptions and the way he plays defense, I think that he really has a great read. I think he reads the quarterback, because his interceptions have come more towards the middle of the field. So, and that's where he's jumping the ball, jumping the pass, watching the quarterback's eyes, and he'll have more. He'll finish the season with more than 2, I assure you. But he's one of those guys, one of those tigers in the backfield that's always going to be somewhere around the play when it comes to an end.
All right, man. That's going to wrap up the area leaders. Now, for the games tomorrow night on the Boot Hill Sports Network, Portersville taking on Malden, Hayti, and Charleston. That game is at Hayti. That's homecoming for the Indians. And the big one is Carruthersville at Scott City. We'll have all these games for you tomorrow night on Boot Hill Sports Network. Pre-game starts at 6:45 with Chris Brown from Portersville, Jeremy Abrams from Carruthersville, and myself, Mark Manley from Hayti. Guys, any closing comments before we go off the air here?
This has been fun, guys. I think it's a great thing. We get to sit in and talk about our respective schools and the great things that these young men are doing. And it's just been an honor and a privilege, guys, to join you. And, I look forward to maybe working with Jeremy here in a week or 2. It was fun working with you, Mark, when we had our game here. But, yeah, this is an awesome thing, and I just appreciate being a part of it. And all I got left to say is go Dogs.
Yeah, and I'm absolutely looking forward to doing the game with you, Chris. Mark, I know we did a basketball game together last year, had a great time doing it, so we'll be looking forward to that. And I guess I have to eat my own words. Now that we had Underwood on the show, I feel a little bit intimidated, so I hope I didn't give any bulletin board material for him, because he seems, with his numbers and his attitude, he seems like he's ready to go. And then before I wrap it up, I just want to say thank you, because I'm looking at all the people that have been watching tonight. A lot of people that I know. A couple people I haven't even seen in years. Holly Spinks is right up there. She must be. She knows a little bit about Scott City. She lives there. Sherman and Pee Wee with the Stats, Martin Henderson, and of course my mother, who's always going to watch. But and everyone else that's not listed. We set a record last week, and we plan on doing it again. More and more, and we just want to thank all the fans, Eliza here, and all the sponsors.
That's right, man, for sure.
You know that.
Got some great sponsors, and one of those sponsors is Home Plate Bar and Grill, that we have the coaches show on Wednesday night. So that is something else for you guys to join in or come get you a bite to eat, as well as they have specials every Wednesday night out there at Home Plate Bar and Grill, located in Hayti, Missouri. And guys, I guess that's going to conclude our first ever Cover 3 podcast on the Boot Hill Sports Network. I'm Mark Manley.
No.
That's Chris Brown. That's Jeremy Abrams. And we will see you tomorrow night on the Boot Hill Sports Network for Friday Night Football right here in the Boot.